56 only master. Starting 70 was master.
Hi students, good morning. Okay. Good morning. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Next. Up to yesterday's class, we have discussed about leaf. Remember, we have discussed primary details of leaf modification. Yes or no? You should follow that leaf modifications also, because in families here and there, some leaf modifications that they have mentioned there. And also in our NCRT book, that part of leaf modification in recent books have been deleted. I think you know that. Anyhow, recall those leaf modifications once again. Some leaf form tendrils. Best example, Pisum sativum, pea plant. Some leaves form spines, cactus. Some leaves are going to store food. For example, in case of our leaf bases of onion and garlic. Next one. Some leaves even participate in reproduction. Do you remember the term? The term that is called bryophyllum. It has reproductive leaves. And some leaves which are developed in insectivorous plants or carnivorous plants, they even have some ability to capture insects. For example, pitcher plant, Venus flytrap, etc. They have some leaf modifications in order to consume insects. Anyhow, you recall all those leaf modifications. In this class, I will begin the story with inflorescence. Our today's story is inflorescence. Inflorescence. Tell me first of all, what is inflorescence? Inflorescence. Arrangement of flowers on inflorescence axis. Inflorescence axis, or it has a special name called peduncle. Arrangement of flowers on inflorescence axis or peduncle. This phenomenon is called inflorescence. Okay, you wanted to arrange flowers on an inflorescence axis. First of all, what is a flower? And also, what is that inflorescence axis? Let us have a brief description of what is flower, what is inflorescence axis, and then we will arrange the flowers on the axis. Then come to the point. First one, what is flower? If anybody asks what is a flower, morphologically it is a modified shoot. Morphologically, flower is a modified shoot. What do you mean by modified shoot? There is only one part of a plant can able to produce flower. That should be shoot. On the stem, we will identify flowers. Flowers never developed on other than shoot or other than stem. That's why flower has been mentioned as reproductive shoot. Next one. What is the purpose of the development of flower? As we know, flower is the unit of sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction. Be careful. Flowers is the reproductive unit of Flower is the sexual reproductive unit of only flowering plants. If they're asking, does the flower purpose is reproduction? Of course, the purpose of the flower is sexual reproduction. Do all plants produce flowers for the sexual reproduction? Obviously not. The flowers below flowering plants, it may be gymnosperms or pteridophytes, bryophytes, thallophytes, so-called algae, they do not produce flowers. It doesn't mean that they do not exhibit sexual reproduction. In final conclusion, flowering plants produces flowers for the sake of sexual reproduction. But in all the plants, flowers are not the part where sexual reproduction will occur. Keep it in mind. Okay? So, flower is a unit of sexual reproduction. And then before that, you said flower is the modified shoot. How do you justify a flower is a modified shoot? Imagine shoot tips. First one, shoot tips, or particularly we can say shoot buds. Shoot buds. We mention either you take shoot tips, which are nothing but apical bud, or you can take the buds that are present on the plant other than apical portion. Either one can be modified in the form of flower. I mean, when there is a shoot tip or shoot bud or axillary bud, either one can be converted in the form of floral bud. Floral bud. In earlier class, you might have remembered, I told this statement about bud. Bud is nothing but a concised stem. The stem, which does not show any elongation, would have all its nodes close to one another, and the leaves will be packed tightly. Such kind of body of a stem, we call it as bud. Imagine, usually buds may convert in the form of a branch, or they may be convert in the form of a flower. Formation of branches from a bud is a vegetative growth. From a stem, if you are forming flowers, that is an indication of reproductive growth. Okay? Remember, if we sow a seed, first it will show vegetative growth. After a certain period of vegetative growth, plant decides based on external as well as internal modifications. This is the time for flowering. When a plant decided the time is there for flowering, then its buds, it may be apical bud or it may be axillary bud. They mention in our NCERT book shoot tips. Not always shoot tips. Axillary buds do can modify in the form of flower. Once the plant decided there is a time for flowering, and in that particular time plant started to modify its buds into floral buds. Those floral buds are also called reproductive buds. Reproductive buds, especially those buds which are converted into flower, we call it as sexual reproductive buds. Anyhow, there has been a deciding of flowering. Plant decided I have to flourish. This is the time for sexual reproduction, so I have to produce flowers. Then how does a shoot will be modified in the form of a flower? Imagine this is a shoot. Tell me, typically, how do you differentiate a stem from the other part of the plant? We mention stem or shoot possess nodes and internodes. This is a nodal region where there is a presence of a leaf. Wherever a leaf has been developed, that portion we call it as node. The gap between the two nodes, it is called internodes. This is internodal portion. This area is called node. This is a typical characterization of a stem. If a stem decided, I don't want to elongate, I have to convert in the form of a flower. At the time, the modifications are started from the stem like this. First one, first modification, internodes do not elongate. Do not elongate. Stop the internodes to elongate. What happens if internodes get elongate? The internodes, if elongated, there is an increasing of length of the stem. Stem length we don't want to increase because we wanted to convert the shoot or the stem into a flower. First, internodes do not elongate. Think about that. If you do not elongate internodes, what happens? All the internodes will come close to one and another. These are all are internodes which are coming close to one and another. Keep it in mind. These lines represent nodes. Since internode is not getting elongated, all the nodes come close to each other. Then generally on a node there is a development of leaf. Do you understand the statement? Things are just modifying to make a shoot to convert in the form of flower. That's it. There is no any other extraordinary changes that are happening in the shoot. See, internodes do not elongate. If internodes do not elongate, the gap between two nodes decreases so that nodes will come close to one and another. Is it okay? When nodes come close one and another, that area we call it as this area where all the nodes come close to one and another. This area generally we call it as thalamus. Thalamus. You keep it in mind. We will elaborate those parts later on. So, first thing, there is a formation of base of flower. Flower need to produce certain organs. To produce those organs, shoot modifying into floral bud. There, internodes do not get elongated. As a result, all the nodes come close to each other. Now tell me, what you are expecting on a node to produce? Generally leaves. Now, leaves do not produce. There is a production of floral organs. In this, if you take an outermost node, consider this one. On the outermost node, there is a development of a floral appendage. Appendage means external outgrowth. The floral appendage that is developed in outermost node, we call it as calyx. I will elaborate. Who are calyx? Who are corolla? I will elaborate just. Outermost node has developed certain kind of floral appendages instead of leaves. At the node, a plant supposed to develop leaf. Instead of leaf, at a node, during at the time of flower formation, a node developing floral appendages or floral organs. Remember, you may heard them by saying floral appendages, or you may say them in the form of floral organs, or we will also say them in the form of floral leaves. All are same. Floral organs, floral appendages, floral leaves. Organs we can understand. Why are you calling them as floral organs? Next one. Why did you call floral appendages? Remember, appendages means external organs. For example, limbs are the appendages of body, which means what? Those organs which are growing outside of the body are attaches from the external to body, we call it as appendages. For example, on the palm, fingers are appendages. Phalanges are the appendages of palm. So, all those organs that are attached to this floral base, we call it as appendages. Then why do we call them as floral leaves? Imagine, at node, the stem supposed to produce leaves. The leaves only getting modified in the form of floral organs. That's why these organs are also called floral leaves. So wherever you study the statements, floral organs, floral appendages, floral leaves, all are the same. Next one, the outermost node has developed calyx. Then second node, careful about this, second node, we have to call them in successive order. Second node develop another floral appendages in the name of corolla. Corolla. Next, the third one will develop. The third one is going to develop stamens, which is nothing but androecium. And the innermost wall is going to develop something in the name of gynoecium. All these bodies developed in successive nodes, one node after another. I'm not saying exactly one node, a group of nodes also sometimes develop, but successively, one after another, the floral appendages started to develop. From the lowermost to innermost node, if you check, the outermost node produces calyx. The next second node produces corolla. Third node will produces androecium. Fourth or innermost node is going to produces gynoecium. These are gynoecium and this is androecium. Is it okay? Like this, there has been a modification of stem into floral appendages. Altogether, the floral appendages along with the bud modification, we call it as a flower. One more time, I am explaining how did a shoot is converted in the form of a flower. See, if you say there is a part is called shoot, first and primary character, it must contain nodes and internodes. In case of a shoot modifying in the form of a flower, at the time internodes do not get elongate. If internodes do not elongate, all the nodes will come close to each other. As a result, there is a formation of a base for the flower. That base is also called thalamus. We will also call it as receptacle of a flower. On that receptacle or thalamus, there are nodes. Careful, internodes disappear. Still, nodes are there. Nodes supposed to produce leaves. Instead of leaves, floral organs started to develop in successive nodes from outer to inner like this. Outermost node produces calyx, next one produces corolla, and the third one produces androecium. The innermost node is going to produce gynoecium. We will discuss about their role when we talk about flower. We will have flower concept after the completion of inflorescence. Right now, I am talking about what is inflorescence. Let us stick on with that concept after understanding what is a flower. Am I correct? Now, imagine if you have a stem, this is a stem, and on which, consider this is a stem on which there are many leaves have been produced, and finally shoot tip, or we can call it as terminal bud. Terminal bud. If a terminal bud is modified into flower, remember, on a stem we can see many flowers arranged together, or many flowers arranged in a particular order. But sometimes what happen, there are certain kind of plants, they produce only one flower from their shoot tip. Instead of making the shoot tip to elongate and produce many flowers, the shoot tip will be converted to only one flower. If shoot tip is converted to only one flower, such kind of inflorescence or such kind of flowers are called as solitary flowers. Solitary. Solitary means single. Now here we need to remember, I said flower developed from shoot, either terminal bud of a shoot or axillary bud of a shoot would be modified in the form of flower. Sometimes what happen, terminal bud, instead of producing many flowers, it can produce. Be careful, a bud can elongate on its axil, the axillary bud can be modified into individual flowers. But instead of doing that, the terminal bud entirely modified into one flower. Such kind of entire terminal bud is modified into one flower. Such kind of flowers are always solitary. Solitary means single. Best example of single inflorescence or single flower inflorescence, hibiscus rosa sinensis, which is nothing but our well-known China rose. Hibiscus rosa sinensis or China rose. One more time. Instead of developing many flowers, a terminal bud alone develop one flower. I mean, single flower developed from terminal bud. Such kind of single flower inflorescence or single flower developed from terminal bud, we call it as solitary. That is also sometimes called solitary inflorescence. Solitude means alone or single. So only one flower developed from the bud. Next, sometimes what happen, same story, let us have little bit variation. This is a stem, and this stem doesn't want to produce single flower. It wanted to produce many flowers. Consider this is a stem and it wanted to produce many flowers as I have mentioned. There, what this stem is going to do, it may be a terminal bud or axillary bud. In either direction it can produce. Over there, the terminal bud started to elongate. This is the stem which started to elongate. Imagine when there is an elongation of the stem, the nature of the stem does not going to be changed. What do you mean by nature of the stem? Consider, if you want to decide there is a stem, it must contain nodes and internodes. That is a character of a stem. Now what I am saying, instead of converting the terminal bud into a single flower, a plant want to produce many flowers simultaneously. Not a single flower, it wanted to produce many flowers. At the time, the bud slightly getting modified into a kind of body which bear flowers. That body we will call it as, that body commonly call it as peduncle. Peduncle or inflorescence axis. Inflorescence axis. It may be called peduncle in common names. Technically it is nothing but inflorescence axis. If you got any question, what is actually an inflorescence axis? It is stem. The stem which produces flowers, which is called as inflorescence axis. More precisely, a modified stem which bear flowers on its surface. We can call it as inflorescence axis or peduncle. Well done. Whenever we talk about node, at the nodal region, there should be a presence of leaf. Of course, I am making here one leaf for our convenience. This is a leaf. Okay? When there is a leaf, this leaf no longer to be mentioned as leaf anymore. The leaf, we will call it as commonly the leaf that it is developed on the surface of peduncle, commonly called as bract. What do you call that, ma? Bract. See, if a leaf developed on stem, it is leaf. If a leaf developed on inflorescence axis, it is not leaf anymore, because its work is not to perform photosynthesis. That's why it is mentioned as bract. Then again, fundamental. When you take a leaf, on the axil of the leaf, there should be a presence of axillary bud. That is common. Wherever you observe a stem, it has a node. At the node, there is a leaf or there are leaves, and at the axil of the leaf, there should be a presence of axillary bud. Now, consider this is an axillary bud. This axillary bud is ready to be modified in the form of flower. Consider they are developing in this manner. These are all our flowers. I am not saying they developed in any one particular order. I am saying how flowers developed on a stem. Getting the statement. This is, I am mentioning it as flower. Flower. See, peduncle, which is nothing but an inflorescence axis. The inflorescence axis is a modified shoot on which flowers are going to be developed. Since it is a modified shoot, it should possess nodes. On the node, there is a leaf. The leaf that is present on the surface of peduncle no longer possesses the work of photosynthesis. It may do photosynthesis, but actually does not meant for photosynthesis. What is its work? Generally, bracts, so-called leaves developed on the surface of peduncle, will be having a protecting property of leaf, protecting property of flower. They are the one who are protecting flowers. Then, actually on the peduncle, from where you are getting flowers? We get flowers from axillary bud. On the axil of a bract, there should be a presence of an axillary bud, that is the one which is responsible for the development of flower. Like this arrangement of flowers on the peduncle, once again I am defining what is inflorescence. The arrangement of flowers on the axis or on the inflorescence axis, we call it as inflorescence. This is what does it mean by inflorescence. Now here I would like to introduce two more terms. Consider, I have taken an inflorescence axis like this. This is an inflorescence axis. The same part I am elaborating. This is an inflorescence axis and this is a node. At the nodal portion, we have seen there is a leaf-like appendage or leaf-like body that I have called it as bract. Okay. And on the axil, there is a development of flower. Consider at least, it is a flower. Now, the flower developed on the inflorescence axis. The inflorescence axis of this flower is also called mother axis of the flower. Mother axis means mother axis. Mother axis means on which, where on the stem the flower has been developed. That means on the stem where flower developed, that is called peduncle. Peduncle is nothing but the base for the development of flower. This is called mother axis, and the mother axis is nothing but peduncle. Peduncle is nothing but inflorescence axis. Listen, whenever I wanted to define the flower developed on the mother axis, okay, on which side of the flower exactly the mother axis is present. To represent outside, that means this is the mother axis, the flower facing away from mother axis, that area is called anterior portion. Anterior. The face of the flower towards the mother axis, this face is called posterior end. Posterior end. Careful, a flower has two faces. One is posterior face, another one is anterior face. What is anterior face? The face of a flower away from the mother axis. Mother axis is nothing but peduncle. The face of the flower away from the mother axis, anterior face. The face of the flower towards the mother axis, we call it as posterior. Remember these two terms later when we discuss about floral diagram. There you come across these words. What is posterior, what is anterior, and also sometimes some type of estivation has a significance of this posterior and anterior ends. Clear? This is about how flowers developed on inflorescence axis. Okay. Types of inflorescences. If you observe, let me take types of inflorescence. Types of inflorescence. I think we know what is inflorescence. Now I am dividing these inflorescences in particular types. If I am dividing them, what criteria do we follow? Based on that, inflorescence, based on the arrangement of flowers, based on arrangement, or exactly to say based on growth of flowers on inflorescence axis, we have two types of inflorescence. This is a criteria to make the inflorescence into two types. There are variety of inflorescences are there, but here we are talking about the inflorescence types based on type of arrangement of flowers on inflorescence axis. There are two types. One is racemose inflorescence. Racemose inflorescence. The second one is called cymose inflorescence. Cymose. First, let me take what is racemose inflorescence. Racemose also you can pronounce, no issue. They will never ask in NEET exam how do you pronounce it. Okay, so we are safe. Whatever the pronunciation mistakes or differences we all have, those pronunciation mistake and those especially spelling mistakes are not to be considerable in NEET exam. If they would have asked spellings also in the NEET exam, we would all fail in the first attempt itself, because nobody can remember all those exact scientific word spellings. It varies from the statement to statement. Getting the idea. So anyhow, I am talking about the concept that is racemose inflorescence. Racemose inflorescence is also having a word called indefinite inflorescence. Indefinite inflorescence. What do you mean by Indefinite inflorescence. Remember, how many number of flowers an inflorescence axis of racemose type will produce? That would be undefined. Why? The reason is this. If you take racemose inflorescence axis, this is the racemose inflorescence axis, it continues to grow. It never ceases to grow. Continuously, the inflorescence axis grows. Continuously grow. That means as long as it has the supply of energy and it has the time to produce flowers, the inflorescence axis in this category continuously grow. Next one, as it is an inflorescence axis, it must contain nodes. These are the nodes. As we have mentioned, at the nodal region, there would be a production of flowers. This is the lowermost node which produces the first flower and the next flower and then followed by it and then next. Look at this. Flowers are produced in this order. This is the peduncle or axis. This is called indefinite axis. Indefinite axis. On the indefinite axis, this flower is the youngest one. Now only produced. Next one, this flower is the oldest one. In this criteria, while inflorescence axis continuously grow, the oldest flower is at the bottom, the youngest one is at the top. If it grows further, one more new flower is going to be formed. Where does it form? It will form after here. Is it okay? Like this. Old flowers are at the base, young flowers are at the top. That arrangement we call it as acropetal order, or acropetal succession. Acropetal succession. Now, succession means arranging in a queue. That means in a line, one after another. They arranged in acropetal order. This is top, acros, that means tip. Acro means tip. Petal means movement. Over there, whenever you talk about the oldest flower which is present at the base, the youngest one is present at the top. This kind of arrangement we will call it as acropetal order. Let me take another kind of inflorescence that is called cymose. Then we will have clarity what we are exactly talking about with related to inflorescence. Cymose inflorescence is called definite inflorescence. Definite inflorescence. Why it is called definite inflorescence? The reason could be like this. It has an inflorescence axis, but that inflorescence axis cannot grow further. It has grown how much it can grow initially. It is inflorescence axis, it has nodes. That is a common criteria. Now, always the inflorescence axis first ends with a flower. This is the flower which has formed first. The inflorescence axis has been end with a flower. That means its tip terminated with a flower. That means that inflorescence axis cannot grow further. How much it can grow? First it will grow and then at its tip it will produce a flower. Then the growth of the inflorescence axis ceased. That's why how much growth the inflorescence axis could be able to do, that is already fixed. That's the reason why it is called definite inflorescence. So this is the first flower, next one, second flower, third flower, fourth flower, and the youngest one. Check it, this one. The peduncle has the flowers like this. This is peduncle. Peduncle means inflorescence axis. This is the oldest one, and this one is the youngest one. Where is the youngest one? At the base. Where is the oldest one? At the top. That means first formed flower would be at the top of the inflorescence axis, and the remaining flowers started to grow in successive nodes one after another in reverse order. This kind of arrangement of flowers we call it as basipetal succession. Flowers are called basipetal succession. Here flowers grow in acropetal succession in case of indefinite inflorescence. In definite inflorescence or cymose inflorescence, flowers always grow in basipetal order. I told you petal, imagine petal means movement. From top to base, movement of flowers. Next one, from base to top, movement of flowers. So flower growth is happening at the top in case of acropetal succession. Flower growth is happening at the base in case of basipetal succession. This is about the basic difference between acropetal and basipetal succession of flowers on our definite inflorescence. Another one is indefinite inflorescence. Is it okay? Then in this, remember in our NCERT book, they have given for definite or racemose inflorescence one example only that they have given, that is cassia. I will show you it. Cassia, acropetal succession of flowers. For about cymose inflorescence, they have given one example, that is jasmine. They did not write, but the diagram that they have given belongs to jasmine. Let me show you some of the images to understand the inflorescence arrangement. One more time. There are various types of racemose inflorescences, cymose inflorescence, various types. Not one or two, several are there. If you dig out in racemose inflorescence itself, there are various types of inflorescences are there. And cymose, again various types are there. In that case, first I will show you some of the examples that we need to remember with respect to racemose and cymose. Let us catch this idea of racemose and cymose inflorescences. I have brought some of them. First, this is the diagram that they have given in our NCERT book regarding to our racemose inflorescence. Racemose inflorescence. You know, this plant name in our Telugu, it is called Tangedu. Whatever it is in another language, this is in English, it is called cassia. Okay? Now you check this cassia. The inflorescence, this is the young flowers are at the top, the old flowers are going to be developed at base. Now if you talk about cymose inflorescence example given in our book, this is, check it this, it's a variety of jasmine. I will also show you the jasmine example also. This is the inflorescence axis. Inflorescence axis. It has been end with flower. Both sides it is producing two more flowers. Like that, if they wanted to produce any flower further, they cannot produce flowers at the tip. but they always produce flowers at the base. Such kind of arrangement we will call it as basipetal succession. Check it out here in another example that's regarding to the jasmine. This is the flower exactly given in our NCERT book. See, this is inflorescence axis. On the inflorescence axis, first old flower terminate inflorescence axis. Below it, there has been development of flowers. This one flower, another flower, like that. If they wanted to produce any future flowers, the flowers always develop at the base of them. This kind of arrangement we call it as basipetal succession. Okay, let me show you some more other varieties of inflorescence mechanisms over there. One by one I will come in the form of, first I will take for racemose inflorescence. See this racemose inflorescence axis closely. See, this is the base. You can see at the base there are old flowers. At the tip there are young flowers. You have to remember, in the middle there is an axis. This axis we call it as peduncle, in short inflorescence axis technically, and also morphologically it is a kind of modified shoot. Clear? Now it's a kind of spike type of inflorescence. It is variety of racemose. Next one, another racemose I wanted to show you, that is another racemose, spike type of racemose inflorescence. Next one, spadix. Same here, you can see old flowers are at the base, young flowers are at the top, but the inflorescence axis did not have any branches. If an inflorescence axis has branches, that inflorescence is called compound inflorescence. If the inflorescence axis are having some kind of branches and making complex, that's what is called compound inflorescence. It has no branches, that's why it is called simple racemose inflorescence. Simple racemose is also called raceme. Next one, spadix. You can check spadix inflorescence. This is spadix, colocasia. Remember, these are the bracts, okay, and this is not a single flower, actually inflorescence axis. The base here it has female flowers, on the top usually male flowers. Only one axis will be there, upper male flowers, lower female flowers. All these flowers or the inflorescence would be covered by modified leaves. These modified leaves or modified bracts, you can say, that is called involucre. This is a plant belongs to our normally consumed plant, that is colocasia. Colocasia, do you remember that? We have mentioned even it's an example of corn. Now flower of colocasia has spadix inflorescence. Next one, another compound spadix. The well-known example of compound spadix is Cocos nucifera, coconut. Check it there. Cocos nucifera or coconut. Imagine in this coconut, this spadix inflorescence covered by a kind of boat-like structure, strong, woody, boat-like structure. That strong, woody, boat-like structure is called spathe. Spathe. Next one. These are all our inflorescence axis. Actually, the inflorescence axis has been divided into branches. All those branches protected by this spathe. One interesting thing about coconut, Coconut is belongs to a category called monoecious plant. Monoecious. What do you mean by monoecious? It is a kind of plant. It has both male and female flowers. Male and female flowers both are arranged on same plant. Such kind of plants are called monoecious. Be careful. Monoecious plants are having unisexual flowers. Male flower, female flower developed separately. They are unisexual flowers. But both type of unisexual flowers would be arranged on same plant. This arrangement is called as monoecious nature. Look at this in case of spadix inflorescence of our Cocos nucifera. These are male flowers. Male flowers. And inside you can see here, this is female flowers. Of course, the coconuts we eat and we drink, they are coming from female flowers, not from male flowers. After fertilization, all these male flowers are going to be drop out and the female flowers would be developed in the form of coconuts. Is it okay? This is an example for spadix inflorescence. Let me take one more. That is the most common type of inflorescence, or in fact to say the most advanced mode of inflorescence, that is advanced mode of inflorescence, head or capituculum type of inflorescence. This is head inflorescence. Remember, in sunflower the flower is not flower. The flower is inflorescence. Whatever we see in the name of flower, that's not actually flower. That is an inflorescence. Sunflower, flower is a group of flowers. Catch the idea? Same mode, tagetes, which is nothing but marigold, and also variety of other plants. We will have the head inflorescence. It is a type of racemose inflorescence. Look at this. This is a kind of racemose inflorescence. In this is inflorescence axis, peduncle. The peduncle will form a base like this. This is the base or flat. Usually peduncle has to grow straight away in racemose inflorescence, but in case of head inflorescence, the peduncle will become flat. This is not thalamus. This is peduncle, inflorescence axis. Got the idea? This is not a part of thalamus. This is, as I said, this is whole inflorescence, not one flower. In that case, this is inflorescence axis, which has become flat cushion-like structure. On this, flowers develop. If you take sunflower, especially what I have represented, outside bodies or outside flowers are called ray florets. The inner side ones are called as disc florets. Disc florets. And whatever it may be, there is an always, the old flowers are at the outer periphery, outer side, old flowers, and young flowers are present at the center. This arrangement we call it as centripetal order. In case of head or capituculum type of inflorescence, the flowers are arranged in which order? Centripetal. Since the inflorescence axis growing lateral side, it's not growing longitudinally, it is growing vertical. It's not growing vertically, it is growing in a mechanism called horizontal growth. That's the reason why there is an arrangement of flowers from peripheral to center. Oldest flowers are at the outside, the youngest ones are present at the center. This phenomenon is called centripetal arrangement. When we discuss about head inflorescence, one thing we should not forget, out of all inflorescence types, Head inflorescence is considered as the most advanced type of inflorescence. Why do you say the head inflorescence is the most advanced one? Reason: if a single insect has come, instead of moving here and there from one flower to another flower, here within the same inflorescence, single insect can pollinate many flowers. See, if a plant produces bright flowers, what is the intention if plant produces bright flowers? In order to attract insects or pollinators. So a single pollinator can pollinate many flowers. Such a kind of arrangement is nothing but head or capiticulum type of inflorescence. So out of all inflorescences, head inflorescence is considered as the most advanced type of inflorescence. Okay, next one. Over there, another type of inflorescences. Let us take some. See, this is head inflorescence. The peripheral ones are ray florets. The central ones are called disc florets. Disc florets are center. Ray florets are at periphery. Keep it in mind. Next, let us take some examples of cymose. Cymose inflorescences. There are varieties are there. Few I am going to mention. Already one thing I have mentioned, that is jasmine. In our NCERT book, jasmine diagram they have given, and also they given a kind of arrangement, that is tri-flower arrangement on the basis of cymose inflorescence. Check it this. This inflorescence axis continuously growing. Am I correct? Definitely not. It's not growing continuously. It is ending with flower. And this is bract or another bract where one more flower develop. This is the first flower, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. Like this. Always an inflorescence axis ends with a flower and subsequent flowers will develop on its lower node. This phenomenon is called cymose inflorescence. It has variations in the name of monocacial cyme, etc., etc. Okay, and other varieties are there: monocacial cyme, polycacial cyme, dicacial cyme, etc., etc. No need all of them. Just remember cymose inflorescence that they have given in our NCERT book is jasmine. And also solanum. There is a plant I wanted to show you. This is Solanum nigrum. Solanum nigrum. It has cymose type of inflorescence because in our NCERT book, as an example of Solanaceae family, they explained the characters of Solanum nigrum. There I will recall one more time, but keep it in mind. It ends with a flower, and young flowers are going to develop always at the base of old flower. This is kind of arrangement is called cymose inflorescence. This is about inflorescence. One more is there. In recent time, it has become very popular. I wanted to explain that it is a variety of special type of inflorescence which is called hypanthodium type of inflorescence. Hypanthodium. Do you remember this? I think if you would have written NEET exam recently, you might have come across the discussion regarding to this fruit and its arrangement. Okay, think about this. This is actually an inflorescence. It's not single fruit. Be careful. It is a variety of compound fruit. An entire inflorescence is modified in the form of fruit. That fruit, so-called fig fruit, over there. Remember, it is a mode of mixed type of inflorescence or modified racemose type of inflorescence. Exactly what happens during there? Look at this. The fig fruit, it has male flowers female flowers, neuter flowers. Neuter flower means the flowers do not have any androecium and gynoecium, but they have petals and sepals. Such kind of flowers are called neuter flowers. In that case, think about this. In the fig fruits, there is an entry of wasp. The wasp generally called blastophaga. Okay, the wasp will enter. It's a variety of insect. It enter inside and pollinate the flowers, and also while pollinating the flower it also lay the eggs. Okay, and while it is laying the eggs, the contents present inside the inflorescence will be utilized, and once it lay the eggs, most of the cases it will come out. If it does not come out, gradually the insect body deteriorated inside it. Is it okay? Then once it lay the eggs will especially it lay the eggs only in gall flowers or neuter flowers. Once the gall flowers make the eggs to be hatched and larvae will come out. Once the larvae consume the nectar present inside the inflorescence, larvae will become adult, and then adult insects will go away from the fruit. Remember, generally they are wandering outside. Only for the sake of reproduction, they will come inside the inside the fruit, and the wasp life cycle interconnected with fruit. But wasp life cycle completely is not going to be completed in this one. Okay, you know what are the answers that they have given and what is the answer you have given. Both will be already justified, but I am saying this is a variety of special type of inflorescence. That much I will touch now. Next, another criteria when it comes to special type of inflorescence. One more type of inflorescence is there, that is called cyathium type of inflorescence. Most of the Euphorbiaceae members are having this mode of inflorescence. Here one speciality. Earlier inflorescence appear like a fruit. Hypanthodium, it's not a single flower produced fruit. It is an inflorescence which has been modified in the form of fruit. Next, this is a kind of inflorescence, but it appear like a flower. It is an inflorescence, it appear like a flower, single flower like inflorescence. In Euphorbiaceae members, this is a single female flower. It's not stigma and style. It's not at the part of the female flower. This is actually a female flower, and the male flowers are going to be surrounded around it. This kind of arrangement of flowers is called cyathium inflorescence. It is like a single flower like inflorescence. That's about inflorescences. Don't go more than that. Even you learn more than that, that would be unnecessary. Let us end up with inflorescence types, then go to the major discussion, that is called flower. Already you know what is a flower. Now I am talking about flower and its parts. In this case, consider, if you are talking about a flower over there, flower is a modified shoot. It has the following parts. In that case, what are the parts present in flower? I will take an image for our convenience. Look at that. I have mentioned one statement, that is, if a shoot tip is modified into single flower, which is always solitary. If a shoot tip is modified into single flower, inflorescence means on the axis there are many flowers. Single flower inflorescence, which is nothing but solitary inflorescence, on the axis there is only one flower. That single flower inflorescence is nothing but the solitary inflorescence found in Hibiscus rosa sinensis. Next, come to our discussion, flower and its parts. See here, we take a flower, which already I have mentioned. How did flower has been developed? A flower is nothing but a modified shoot. On the modified shoot, internodes do not get elongate. As a result, all the nodes will come close to each other. In those nodes, successively floral organs will develop from outer side to inner side. Now, I'll discuss all those parts one by one here. For the sake of formation of flower, the stem has been modified and created a base. This base we call it as thalamus. Thalamus, or it has a name called receptacle. Receptacle, thalamus or receptacle. Then on the thalamus or on the base of a flower, floral organs will develop successively. First one, this is the first whole. The first whole. The first whole. The whole name is calyx. Calyx. Inside the whole, each individual member is called sepal. Sepal. Remember, the node, it is not present one side of a stem. It is present around the stem. Am I correct? Around the node, the floral organs started to develop. Those floral organs which are developing around the node, we call them as whole. Whole means ring-like arrangement of floral organs. While they are arranging like a ring, that ring is called calyx. In the ring, whatever the bodies are developed, they are called as sepals. The whole name is calyx. In the whole, the members are there which we call them as sepals. Clear? Next one. The second whole. Second whole has a name. The second whole name is called corolla. And members of corolla are called as petals. Petals. Sepals, petals. You know, typically sepals are green, petals are colorful. It's not that a kind of universal appearance. Sometimes sepals may even become colorful. Sometimes petals may become any kind of, may present, may not be, but if they present, they may not even become colorful. You got the statement? So anyhow, petals work generally to attract pollinators when the flower is ready to be pollinated. Sepals work is to protect the flower when the flower is in bud condition. But these two organs, even not present, flower can perform reproduction because they are not reproductive organs. In a flower, sepals, petals, they are just called as accessory organs. Accessory organs. They are also called non-essential organs. What for they are non-essential? Even they are absent in a flower. Flower can still perform reproduction. That's why they are non-essential organs. And they are also called accessory. If they are there, they have some work. If they are not there, no need to worry. A flower can still perform reproduction. Getting the statement? That's why accessory organs are non-essential organs. We call them as our petals and sepals. Then what happens sometimes? These petals and sepals will be mixed up. The petals and sepals if mix up, this nature is called perianth. Perianth. The members of the perianth are called tepals. Tepals. Catch this. If sepal, petal separately present, sepal has a whole, petal has a whole. Sepal whole is called calyx, petal whole is called corolla. They have their own work. But sometimes sepals petals are not distinct. Both are mixed up and they will form a common whole. That common whole of sepals and petals is called perianth. Now, sepals and petals have been mixed up and they are forming a common body. That common body is called tepals. Clear? Tepals, members of perianth, sepals, members of calyx, petals, members of corolla. The best example of those members who are having this perianth or tepals, Liliaceae members. In case of lily, we see this tepals. Next, come to third one. The third whole has a name called androecium. Androecium. Third whole is called androecium. The members of androeciums are called stamens. Of course, they are male reproductive organs. The innermost whole name is called gynoecium. Gynoecium. The innermost. Be careful. Sometimes they even say, what is the first whole, what is the second whole, what is the third whole and fourth whole. Whole numbers do not change. The outermost whole is the first whole, calyx. Second whole, corolla. Third whole is androecium. Fourth whole is gynoecium. Their numbers must be fixed up. I should not say, I will call gynoecium is the first whole because it's the most essential part of a flower. Gynoecium it has to be called as first whole. I will be wrong because first whole is provided technically to calyx. Gynoecium members we can call it as carpel. Gynoecium members we call them as carpels. We can also call them as pistil. Gynoecium fourth whole, androecium third whole. In this case, androecium and gynoecium together, androecium, gynoecium together is called essential organs of a flower. Essential organs. They are not accessory, they are not decorative, they are not something that is present there, work, absent there, no work. Not such kind of organs they are. If they are there, then only we call it as a perfect flower. Getting the statement? That's why they have a role in the name of essentiality. Imagine, you said here, a typical flower possesses 4 whorls. Calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. In this case, what happens after the flower has completed its work? Which means flower has produced for sexual reproduction. If a flower completed its sexual reproduction, what are the changes? Look at this. Calyx, corolla typically fall down. Generally, after the flower has been pollinated or fertilized, sepals petals get fall down. This is a usual parameter, but rarely in case of Solanaceae members in Solanum or Solanaceae members, petals are persistent. Petals are persistent. They have persistency. In variety of members like Datura, Solanum, in the chili, brinjal, etc. They have sepals even after the fertilization is happening, except in those few members. Remaining all members, petals are going to be temporary and they will be fall down from the flower after the fertilization. Petals and sepals both. Next one. What about androecium? Androecium also get fall down. Then what about gynoecium? In the gynoecium, this part is called stigma, this part is called style, Stigma and style usually fall down. This area is called gynoecium, or I will call it as generally ovary. Ovary is going to convert in the form of fruit. So finally, if a flower has been pollinated, the only one part that would be remain generally, that is ovary. Remaining all parts of the plant, all parts of a flower get fall down. This is about typical characterization of a flower. In that case, imagine we have a flower that it has all these organs. That means four holes are present. If flower has all the four holes, all the four holes are present, that flower is called complete flower. The flower is complete. If all four holes are perfectly arranged and perfectly present, anyone is missing, that flower is called incomplete flower, which means in some cases androecium absent, or in some cases gynoecium is absent, some cases sepals absent, some cases even petals also absent. Any one of the whole is missing, it doesn't matter which one is missing. Any one is missing, we will consider it as incomplete flower. If any one of the four whole is absent, if any one of the four whole absent, such kind of flower we call it as incomplete flower. Incomplete flower. Okay. Keep the statement side by. Come to another thing. You said there is a word called perfect flower, not complete. This is perfect. Perfect flower. Another one is imperfect flower. Imperfect flower. Perfect. Both androecium, let me take in a technical term, androecium and gynoecium, both are present. That is called perfect. Imperfect, any one essential organ is missing. Essential organ is missing. That condition we call it as, what do you call? Imperfect. Generally, imperfect flowers are unisexual flowers. Unisexual. If they are only with androecium male flowers or staminate flowers, staminate. If they are only with gynoecium female flowers, we also call pistillate flowers. These are the terms generally we apply to represent flower and its parts. Next one, let us talk about symmetry of flowers. Flower and its parts. Next, floral symmetry I am talking about. Symmetry. Symmetry of flowers. See, what is the basis for dividing the flowers symmetrically? That means whether the flower is symmetric or asymmetric. To decide it, we have a criteria. Take a flower, cut it vertically. If the flower is becoming equal vertical plane, be careful, not the horizontal plane. Vertical plane you have to cut. You should not cut the flower in an horizontal plane to make the symmetry or asymmetry. Take a flower, cut it vertically. Okay? Based on the criteria, we have a symmetry. In that, first one, radial symmetry. Radial symmetry. What is radial symmetry? Any vertical plane any vertical plane divide flower into two parts. Any vertical plane, a flower is going to become two parts. For example, consider this one. You make any vertical plane, the flower is going to be divided into two parts. Such kind of arrangement we call it as symmetry. Generally it is called radial symmetry, or the flower is symmetric. Best examples of symmetric flowers, you can take datura, mustard, chili, so many are there. Radial symmetry, it's a common type of flowers. Next one, bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry, it is also, the flower name is zygomorphic flower. The flower which is showing bilateral symmetry, zygomorphic flower. The flower which is showing radial symmetry, it is called actinomorphic flower. Actinomorphic flower. This is flower name, this is symmetry name. Don't confuse. In our NCERT book, they have started by saying actinomorphic, zygomorphic, and asymmetry. Okay? Over there, actinomorphic is a flower name. Its exhibiting symmetry is radial symmetry. Zygomorphic flower is flower name. Its exhibiting symmetry is bilateral symmetry. Only one vertical plane divide flower into two parts. Only one vertical plane can divide the flower into two equal parts. This is very important. In case of Fabaceae members like pea, bean, this is a common criteria, zygomorphic flower. Later we will study the Fabaceae family. Most of the members of the Fabaceae family are exhibiting zygomorphic flower. In addition to that, Gulmohar is also exhibiting bilateral symmetry. Bilateral, only two parts of the flower can be made when you make only one vertical. One vertical plane only can make a flower into two parts. Next one, another one, asymmetric flower. And also the flower name is called irregular flower. Flower is asymmetric, the name of the flower is irregular. Over there, cannot become two equal parts. You cut the flower in any direction, it never going to be converted in the form of two equal parts. Such kind of flowers are called irregular flowers. Best example of irregular flower, Cannabinus sativum. Canna. Zygomorphic, actinomorphic, irregular. Bilateral symmetry, radial symmetry, and asymmetry. Getting the statement? But these words they have mixed up in our NCERT book. The sequence should go like this. If I say flower is actinomorphic, zygomorphic, irregular. Next one, symmetry, radial symmetry, bilateral symmetry, asymmetry. Get the statement? Then let me show you some of the images that I have collected to show them. See, this is Cannabinus sativum. Cannabinus sativum. You said right now asymmetric flower. This is that asymmetric flower. Cannabinus sativum. Next one. In this case, this one is gulmohar. This is not a small plant. This is generally grown in roadside because in that season it produces huge number of flowers which are very colorful and attractive. That's gulmohar. Okay. This is the irregular flowers, regular flowers. Let me show you that one also. This is hibiscus. The hibiscus rosa sinensis. This is the flower that is exhibiting actinomorphic symmetry. You can make it into two equal parts in any plane that is passing through center. This is called actinomorphic flower. Zygomorphic flowers, we'll check them later on because there will be many type of flowers that we will check in Fabaceae members. This is actinomorphic flower. Okay. Next, after the arrangement, after the symmetry, then go to a concept is there. Merosity of flowers. Merosity of flowers. What is merosity? The number of floral appendages or floral organs present in each whole. We will call it as merosity. Number of floral appendages that are present in each whole. That means if I choose, there is a sepal, calyx. How many sepals are there? Corolla, how many petals? Androecium, how many stamens? Like that, in each whole, how many number of floral appendages are present? That phenomenon is called as merosity. We have, based on the merosity, trimerous. What do you mean by trimerous? 3 or multiples of 3 floral organs. It's not particularly any one whole. I am talking about, this is general. Okay, think about this. If sepals are 3, petals may be 6, 9, but petals never going to become 4. That's a identifiable thing. If sepal is, for example, petals in a flower 4, you never expect its androecium, nothing but stamens, would be in odd number. If petals are 4, okay, it's what do you call stamens, maybe 6, 8, 12, like that, but it never have uneven number. That is the beauty of arrangement of floral organs. Is it okay? Trimerous flowers, example lily. Next one, tetramerous. Over there we have 4 or multiples of 4. Best example, mustard. Next, pentamerous. In this pentamerous, 5 or multiples of 5. One thing, trimerous flower is a characteristic feature of monocots. Important. And tetramerous and pentamerous characteristic feature of dicot. Keep it in mind. The remaining things we will discuss in the next episode. Okay? Are you following me? Very good. But I believe that you are following me. Okay? If you have any doubts, put a comment. If it is reliable, I can able to explain that comment. Okay? Very good. Thank you. Bye for this today. End up.